Robert, Manchester United desperately looking to bring in a striker. Ruben Amorim is unhappy with what we currently have, which is understandable. Højlund is not really offering too much, and I don't think Zirkzee is a number 9. We obviously have Cheeto as well, but again, there's a lot of pressure on a young kid. I'm going to talk about 3 strikers that Manchester United could sign this summer, and let's look at them. Now, the first one is Nicholas Jackson, someone we've been heavily linked to in recent weeks. I think he's definitely a striker to look at. I think if you look at his future at Chelsea, it does seem like he will be getting very limited game time with João Pedro and Liam Delap coming in. Again, he's a player who has 8 years left on his contract. And if you look at what Ruben Amorim needs, we need a clinical goal scorer. And is Nicholas Jackson that sort of player that we need? Probably not. If you assess his qualities, I think he can score goals. He's a very, very hard worker. But again, he's very, very inconsistent. And I think Chelsea invested a lot of money in him from Villarreal. I think it was 40 odd million. He's 24 years old. Obviously, has scored goals for Chelsea. But again, he's still not the sort of ideal player that I'd go for. I think he is a bit similar, to be fair, to Rasmus Højlund. I think they have very, very similar profiles and characteristics. I think they're two indecisive players. But if you look at Nicholas Jackson, you look at some of the good moments he has had at Chelsea, they have been good. He scored some big goals for them, but is he the sort of profile that we want? As I said, we know Ruben Amorim wants a Premier League proven striker, which again, Nicholas Jackson is. As I said, we're in need of someone who can score 15 to 20 goals a season. I think we have a player there, a young developing striker in Rasmus Højlund. As I said, you have Cheeto as well. I just don't think signing Nicholas Jackson makes a lot of sense at the moment for Manchester United, going in to what we really want to do. But he definitely is an option to consider. As I said, there's loads of other strikers, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Jamie Vardy, Moise Kean we've been linked to a lot, but the 3 that I'm going to talk about are the 3 we've been mainly linked to. And the second one's 29-year-old Aston Villa striker Ollie Watkins. He has been linked to Manchester United. Obviously, Aston Villa are in a very, very poor financial position at the moment and need to sell players. And Ollie Watkins could well be one of them. Obviously, they generated a lot of money for John Duran last summer, but again, they need to sell players to kind of stay financially stable. And Ollie Watkins is certainly one. He has some good stats. If you're into stats, he's a very, very good lethal finisher. And I think you look at what Manchester United want, he is that sort of striker. He can score Premier League goals. As I said, Aston Villa need to sell, so you'll be able to negotiate. You could well offer maybe Garnacho in exchange. But in terms of his stats, last season he played 38 matches in the Premier League. He scored 16 goals and got 8 assists. So 24 goals and assists in 38 matches is pretty good. He has got that Premier League experience. He's played in lots of different teams in England, and yeah, United are very, very interested in signing him. We do have his, we are in talks with Aston Villa to see if we can get that deal done, and I would be very, very excited to get in Ollie Watkins. I think he definitely is a striker target we can go in for. As I said, you can get him out of Villa for cheap, and again, he's a talented player who, again, you look at the players that we have, the likes of Bruno, who in the last 3 seasons has created the most chances in the Premier League. You have Zirkzee, Ahmad, and Buemo now, Cunha. Like, you have these talented, creative players who I really think can help. And as I said, we've been linked to quite a few Aston Villa players as they need to sell money. So is he the sort of striker we can go after? Certainly for me, but I'll give you my verdict at the end. Now, the last player is Benjamin Sesko. Now, he has been linked to Manchester United the most. Now, in terms of price, I think you can get Jackson. As I said, Chelsea are quoting 80 to 100 million. They ain't going to get that for him. I think Jackson, reasonable price, would probably be 40 million. I think Watkins, 30 to 40 million. And Sesko, 60 million is what RB Leipzig want. Now, he has a release clause in the region of 68 to 86 million, but they are willing to let him go for a smaller fee. Now, in terms of Sesko, a young player, relatively inexperienced, 2003 he was born, he's 22 years old. Again, this is a signing that has been kind of pushed with Christopher Vivell, who has a very, very good relationship with Sesko. Obviously, Vivell was someone who worked at Leipzig And yeah, listen, he's a very, very good player. Don't get me wrong. Again, the concerns I have with him is he doesn't fit what Ruben Amorim wants, as he's not Premier League proven. He is still relatively inexperienced, and I don't think he can come into this team and bang 20 goals in straight away. You never know, though. So yeah, he certainly is a decent striker to look at. He's good in the air. He has good finishing. And yeah, he's certainly someone to look out for. I think he's had some good moves already, going from Salzburg to Leipzig. But again, he's a talented player. He was heavily linked to Arsenal as well. Now, in terms of my overall verdict, I think each of those strikers have benefits. But the one that I would go for out of those three, and the one I think Ruben Amorim would go for, would be Ollie Watkins. That doesn't mean we're going to sign him, but out of the three options that we've kind of been linked to, I think he would make the most sense. He's Premier League proven, can score goals as well. Aston Villa are willing to sell. You could potentially offer Garnacho as well in terms of the deal. He would be relatively cheap as well, and I think the sort of striker that we need would be Ollie Watkins. I think spending 60 million on a striker when we signed Højlund 2 seasons ago for, what was it, 80, 75, I think, or 80 million pounds or 75 million pounds in that region. You signed Xerxes the season after for around 40 million. I think Sesko for 60 mil would be quite a bit, but as I said, I would be happy with Sesko or Ollie Watkins. But again, there's lots of strikers we've been linked to. As I said, Nicholas Jackson's one. We've been linked to Calvert-Lewin. A lot of the free agents, to be fair. Obviously, Gyökeres, but he's gone. But our focus is now finding the perfect striker for Ruben Amorim, and his preference is Premier League proven, which again makes a lot of sense. I think you can see what Ruben Amorim's trying to do. He's trying to sign Premier League proven players. Two of the major signings we've made so far this season have been two of the best Premier League players this last season in Cunha and Mbeumo. And I think bringing in players with that Premier League experience just takes away that sort of pressure to adapt. They already know the league and they already know what to expect. And I think that's something that, again, United are trying to implement. Again, but keep an eye on Sesko. I think his relationship and the one they have with Vavel could potentially see a deal. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. That would be the striker I'd sign. Again, there's lots of other options out there. But the focus right now for Manchester United is to find the perfect striker for Ruben Amorim, and who that is, we're not too sure yet. But those three are certainly one Manchester United can go out and sign. Let's see.